Inventory settings. Let us see all the configurations which are possible in inventory and how to operate them. First, you have to log on to your owner's dashboard and then go to inventory section. Under inventory, you will find the heading of inventory settings. When you reach inventory settings, a screen like such will be visible. We'll be dissecting all of the settings individually and I'll explain the use cases of them to you. Let's start with the first setting. Want auto consumption for inventory. Well, as explained to you, the stock levels in inventory can be auto managed by the entries of purchase bills and the entries of sales bills. Along with that, consumption can take place in multiple formats. One being auto consumption when an order is punched in the billing portal. So as soon as the billing is done, all the items mentioned in the bill will be reduced in the form of raw materials and the value of raw materials will be obtained from the item recipe. Wastages can also be inputted. Now all these methods are of consumption. So whether you want the management of your stock levels as per the entries posted into the software, then keep this option on yes. If you don't want this to happen and you want to adjust the stock manually, then you can keep it on no. But we recommend to keep it on yes and do all the entries accurately so that your workload becomes lesser. The second setting is for mapped restaurants, kitchens and stores. Now each outlet can deal with multiple outlets if it is a brand outlet. These can be other restaurants, other units or center kitchens. These all outlets should be first listed or be using Petpooja, then only they will be visible in the list. If you want to associate them together, then you can use this function. Now in my case, only central kitchen is visible because I only have 2 outlets. So if I want to map this kitchen or map this outlet to my central kitchen, then I can select them like so. Multiple selections can also be done. And if you leave it empty, then the outlet can communicate with all of the outlets listed under that particular brand. This is very useful when you want certain central kitchens to supply to certain outlets only. So all the control becomes concise and everything goes via the central kitchen and not multiple central kitchens. The third setting is for get notification when item reaches at par stock level. There are multiple stock levels of an item and whenever the stock level hits par stock, it usually is the time for reordering the item. If you want a notification for that to be generated, which will alert your staff to reorder the item, kindly click on yes. And if you don't want any notification to be raised, then you can keep it on no. Send notification to kitchen when item reaches at par stock level. In all those outlets where the entire supply is managed from central kitchen, the central kitchen will look at the volumes of raw material present at the outlet and auto order the goods for them. If you follow this system, then you can click on yes, which will enable the system to send a notification to the central kitchen notifying them about the stock levels being very low at the outlet. So central kitchen can automatically pack up those many raw materials and get them ready for the next dispatch. Put item as out of stock status when item quantity gets below minimum stock level. Now if you want the system to automatically turn off all those items mentioned inside your menu whose raw materials are not present with you, you can click on yes. This will essentially take away the item names from your menu, so the items which are being ordered at your outlet, none of them will be out of stock. This improves customer experience significantly. We in general have noticed this happening multiple times whenever we go to a restaurant and sometimes the order is placed but the manager or the waiter comes back and tells us that the item is out of stock. This is directly linked to the customer experience in the outlet and we don't want that to fall. So we would suggest you to keep this as yes. Allow the user to raise a request for purchase when the stock at the kitchen restaurant level is negative. Now the outlet usually generates a purchase order and the purchase order is supposed to be generated whenever the stock level is minimum or at par stock. If the stock has already gone into negative, then there is some kind of mistake taking place at the outlet level. If you want this mistake to be curtailed and controlled, you can click on no. If you click on no, any stock which is in the negative quantity, a purchase order for the same cannot be generated by the staff himself. So the staff will have to contact the senior authority for generating this purchase order. And in this entire process, you will get to know on point what are the reasons because of which the stock level went into negative. This will help you to curtail or curb the mistakes happening at the beginning level only. If no purchase order is generated, then no purchase could be registered for the same. Hence, this becomes a very important feature in cases of FMCG or QSR outlets. Want ship to bill to configuration. Whenever a brand has their footprint in multiple regions, which being Western India, Eastern India, Northern India, Southern India, or multiple states, multiple cities, there is a possibility that the central kitchen will supply certain amount of products to the outlet, and direct dealers from that particular area will supply some of the item to them. But if the entire purchase of an outlet is managed by the HO or the central kitchen, then this feature can be kept on. Essentially, it will help you to mention two different addresses on your documents. The first address would be shipping address. Where should the delivery take place? And the another address would be of the biller's address. Where is the bill is supposed to go, which will be the biller's address. So two copies will be generated, one for the order and one for the biller. If you'd like to keep this setting on, you can click on yes. And if you don't want to keep this setting on, you can click on no. Want to set invoice total amount in round figure round off, which means if there are any paisas or any amount which is not tallied or rounded at the end of the bill, do you want to auto round off them, yes or no? Sales invoice label. Essentially, the heading of sales invoice can be edited from here. You can keep anything. We'll be changing it to sales raw material tax invoice. Revert consumption due to cancellation of an online order. Whenever an online order is cancelled, the raw materials or the dish has not left our outlet. Now, in case of FMCG outlets or packaged products, you can keep the setting as on or yes. So let us take an example of a soft beverage bottle. This bottle had an online order, but the online order got cancelled. So I can take back the bottle and sell it to any other customer. But in cases of items or dishes which are prepared on the point, such as a pizza or a sandwich, these items cannot be sold back to another customer. In these cases, we'll keep it as no, because that pizza or that sandwich is essentially wastage for us. But in packaged products, we can keep it as yes, because the product has not been touched and it is not a wastage. Do you want to display the average purchase without tax price as internal transfer sales return price? Whenever you are generating a sales or transfer document, it will ask you for the amount or price of that particular item. Now, if you want a price to be auto-populated there, which is the average of the purchase price of that raw material. The averages can be moving, we'll come to that later on, but if you want the price to be auto-populated there, you can keep it as yes. Then you will know what was the average purchase price and you can increase the price as per your liking. Or in case of sister outlets, you cannot increase the price because there is no profit to be made from this transaction, and keep it the exact average purchase price. So it becomes 0. Choose how many days you want to use to obtain the latest average purchase price. As explained to you, all of the prices are ascertained by the moving average method, and this moving average schedule can be selected by you. If you want to limit it to 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 75 days and 90 days, you can select as per your liking. Then comes purchase invoice label. The invoice or the document which is generated while you are doing a purchase entry has a title, and this title can be edited from here. So we will change it to raw material purchase invoice. Want to enable cess tax in invoices. In certain areas, government charges cess tax. If you want to enable the input of those tax while creating the document, you can click on yes, and that button or that section will become visible in all those documents. If you don't want it to happen, you can click no. Allow the user to raise an internal transfer or sales when the stock at the kitchen restaurant level is negative. If a stock is already in negative quantity, then generally it is not advised to generate a sale or transfer request, because of which the stock will become bigger in the negative quantity section, and the discrepancy will be difficult to meet whenever an inquiry is set up on the same. So if the stock reaches the minus level, do you want the outlet to have the ability to generate any of the consumption entries in the form of sales or transfer? If you want it to happen, you can click on yes. If you don't want the outlet to do it, then you can click on no. Want to display tax in purchase order. If you'd like to display the taxes while generating a purchase order, you can click on yes. If you don't want to do that, you can click on no. Allow edit delete of purchase once entries are done. We would strongly recommend you to keep no on this section, because if staff has access to change the entries which are once done, then the tallying or reconciliation parts becomes very difficult. You cannot know exactly what was the value inputted by whom. It could be visible from the logs section, but it becomes a very tedious process. So kindly keep it no, and in case any change is required, you can proceed to delete the entire entry and generate a new entry. Allow for incomplete purchase order. If you click on yes, a staff can generate an incomplete purchase order where the mandatory sections will become non-mandatory. So for example, if I forgot to add the price or rate of a particular raw material, a purchase order will be generated if I keep it on yes. But that does not make sense because the price or the amount on which I am requesting the purchase is not mentioned. So generally we keep it on no, but if you'd like to change it, you can keep it on yes. Do you want to allow add wastage stock for previous date? Now it is not possible to keep a track of what wastages took place previously. So we would recommend you to keep this section on no. As soon as a wastage takes place, the staff's first action should be to take care of the wastage physically and then come here to the system and add the wastage digitally. But if you want the staff to do it, you can change it as per your convenience. Do you want to lock prices in purchase and consumption modules? Now if you are monitoring the entire purchase and sales process or most of the process by the HO level, you can keep it on no. So the staff at the outlet level cannot change the prices as per their liking. And certain kind of frauds or misconducts can be prevented by keeping this setting on no. Do you want to display current stock in purchase and consumption modules? It is suggested to keep it on yes, because whenever any document is generated for consumption or purchase, the stock level will be displayed below the SKU name. So the staff can know what is the existing stock quantity and how much is supposed to be ordered or sold. Want to allow add internal transfer sale for previous date. If any previous date sales or transfer entry needs to be generated, you can keep it on yes or on no. We would suggest to keep it on no because it may lead to higher problems. Want to allow add purchase for previous date. This function is also recommended to be kept on no, but if you want to keep it on yes, you can do so. Do you want to add purchase from a purchase order without it being approved by the restaurant kitchen in their internal transfer module? So as you can see, whenever we go to stock purchase section and register a purchase, it has the option to fetch the purchase orders. If I want these purchase orders to be accepted directly without any regards to them being accepted or not accepted by the approving authority, I can keep it on no. So unless and until a PO gets accepted, the outlet cannot convert it to a purchase. But if you keep on yes, the outlet can directly convert the purchase order into purchase. Do you want to allow for generation of Proforma in sales? If you click on yes, whenever you are posting a sales entry, a button like so will appear in the bottom section. This button will help you to generate a Proforma invoice. This Proforma invoice looks like this. Now, Proforma invoice or sales order are usually used to collect advance payment for any of the orders. Once you go here to the edit section and click on save changes, it will be converted to sales from a Proforma. Do you want to capture average purchase price for converted products based on raw materials used in conversion? We all know how to generate food costing of an item, but whenever a conversion or a convert raw material takes place, which is a semi-finished good, if you'd like to auto-fetch the price on the basis of average of purchase prices of raw materials used in creating that semi-finished good, you can keep it on yes. For example, if we are creating the semi-finished good of pizza sauce, and the raw materials used are tomatoes, herbs and seasonings, and spices. So the average price of these three will become the average price of this particular product. If you want it to happen, you can click on yes, and if you don't want it to happen, the price which was used while purchasing that raw material will be used to generate or ascertain the food cost of a semi-finished good. Enable pre-configured reasons at an item level to be in place for description while creating purchase and sales returns. If you are creating purchase return or sales return, there is a column in which you can mention the reasons why is it being returned. So if you want any auto-populated fields to be listed in the drop-down menu, you can list them here. Enable pre-configured reasons. It is the same as this setting, but for wastage module. You can add them or change them here. Outlet type ownership. The ownership of that particular outlet can be ascertained from here. If you change the outlet type, then necessary operational structure changes will be made in its inventory module. Do you want to use barcode in sales transfer purchase? We would recommend to keep this yes, because whenever the list is long during any of the transaction, the staff member can attach a laser scanner and scan all those barcodes to ease down its process. Restricts conversion if the stock of the raw material used will become negative. If you want to create a semi-finished good, but the raw materials being used inside it is in negative quantity, then we would suggest you to keep this setting yes, because essentially if a stock is in negative quantity, how can you use it to create a good which is made out of it? It does not make sense. But if you want this to happen, you can click it on no. In add request for purchase, what do you want to display in the deliver to sections? So this comes from the initial setting of ship to bill to. Whenever you are requesting a purchase, where do you want it delivered? And the addresses or the drop down list will contain the names of these three categories. You can select these categories as so, or if you want all of them to be listed, you can not input anything in this section. Do you want to display the conversion quantity and total conversion quantity in all purchase and consumption modules? If you'd like to display them, you can click on yes, and if you don't want to display them, you can click on no. Do you want to allow for rate cards in purchase return? As you know, rate card function is used by Central Kitchen. If you want the rates to apply while filing a purchase return, which are mentioned in the rate card, you can click on yes. If you don't want it to happen, you can click on no. Restrict outlet to raise a purchase order below MOQ. Here, MOQ stands for minimum order quantity. Now there is a possibility that the Central Kitchen will only supply goods if it meets the minimum order quantity. So for example, if the minimum order quantity set by the Central Kitchen or HO is 15 kgs and the outlet only needs 10 kgs of tomatoes, they will still not be able to generate a PO or a purchase order because it is not meeting the minimum order quantity set by the senior authority. Set standard terms and conditions in internal transfer. If you want to auto-populate those terms and conditions, you can post them here. automatically generate an invoice number when creating a sales record with a prefix. So if a sales record is generated with a prefix, there is a possibility to auto-map the serial numbers. So for example, if the first invoice number would be AB01, then the second invoice will automatically have the number AB02. If you want to keep this setting on, you can click on yes. And if you don't want that to happen, you can click on no. Come here, click on save changes, and all the necessary configurations in your inventory will be auto applied. Thank you.